Hello everybody, this is Zainab Zaytoun. In this video, I'll be solving exercises on the first part of statistics that I did in the previous video. So if you didn't watch that video, check it now before you watch this one. Let's start with the first exercise. 50 people are surveyed about their salaries in dollars in a certain company. The results are arranged in the following table. So pause this video and take your time to read this table carefully. So in this table, you have the salaries, which ranges between $600 and $5,000, and you have the frequency, some of the frequencies because this one is unknown, for example, and you have some of the relative frequencies in percentage. Now, the first question, find the numerical values of A, B, C, D, and E. Before we start finding these values, this is an important remark. The order of finding these values matter. So, for example, what do I mean by this? For example, if you want to find E first, in order to find the relative frequency of 2600, according to the rule, it's the frequency over the total frequency times 100. Suppose that you have the total frequency, but you don't have the frequency, so you can't get E. So what I mean by this is that you need to know which one to find first. So let's start by the easy ones. Let's look at B, for example, which is the total frequency. So in order to get the total frequency, you have two methods, either to add the frequencies, but there's a problem because you don't have A, so we can't do this method, or by definition of the total frequency, it's the total number of individuals in the population. So in this case, the total number of individuals in the population is the total number of people surveyed about their salaries, which are 50 people. So now we know that B is 50. Now, which one is also very easy to know? It's C, because C is the total relative frequency in percentage, and we already know that it's 100. So the only given was for the total frequency, and for the total relative frequency in percentage, you should know that it's 100, and for the relative frequency, if you have it, it's 1. Now the rest needs calculation. So which one you should start with? We still can't do E because we don't have the frequency. So since the rule is the frequency over the total frequency over 100. So let's look at A. Can we get A? We know that the total frequency is 50. And the total frequency is the sum of all the frequencies. So 7 plus 12 plus 4 plus A plus 7 plus 9 must give us 50. So now you can get A. You'll get that A is equal to 11 if you do the calculations. Now, what about D and E? Recall the definition of the relative frequency in percentage, or the rule. So it's the frequency over the total frequency times 100. So now for D, it's 4 over 50 times 100, so you get D. And same for E, because now you have A, so it's 11 over 50 times 100. So these are the answers if you want to copy them. Now, the second question, complete the above table. So we need to fill the fourth row, which is the increasing cumulative frequency. For sure, we will do the quick method. So for the first one, we drop the same frequency, which is 7. For the second one, remember, it's the frequency plus the increasing cumulative frequency of the previous value. So it's a 12 plus 7, you get 19. For the second one, it's 4 plus 19, so you get 23. Then it's 11 plus 23, so you get 34. Then 7 plus 34, you get 41. Then 9 plus 41, you get 50. Notice that always the last value of the increasing cumulative frequency should be equal to the total frequency, because you're adding the frequencies up each time. Now the third part, calculate the average salary of these 50 people. So recall the rule of the mean or average. You should calculate each value by its frequency and sum them up, and then divide them by the total frequency. So according to the rule, it would be 600 times 7 plus 1000 times 12 plus 1400 times 4 plus 2600 times 11 plus 3200 times 7 plus 5000 times 9, all over 50. So this would be the answer, and don't forget the unit because it's given in the question. Now the fourth part, how many people earn a salary above $1,600? So let's look at the values. You have these salaries. How many people earn more than 1,600? So which salaries are above 1,600? We have 2,600, 3,200, and 5,000. These three are below 1,600. Now, they're asking about the number of people. How can we know how many people earn above 1,600? So we know that the frequency represents the number of people who earns 2,600, for example, or any one of these values. So you just sum the frequencies of these three values which are above 1,600. So the number of people who earn a salary above 1,600 would be 11 plus 7 plus 9, which is 27. Exercise 2. Now try to do this by yourself because it's pretty similar to the previous one. The results of a study on the favorite movie genre is represented in the table below. So also pause the video and try to read this table carefully by yourself. So you have this genre: drama, horror, adventure, action, thriller, and comedy. You have some of the frequencies and some of the relative frequencies, as you can see. Now the first question: how many people were surveyed in this study? What does this remind you about? So the total number of people that were surveyed in this study is the same as the total frequency. So the answer would be 200. Now the second part: determine the values of A, B, C, and D. So in the same logic of the previous exercise, you should think about the easiest ones to start with. So which one is the easiest of A, B, C, and D? You should directly know that D is the easiest one because you already know that the total relative frequency is 1. So now we're done with the first one, which is 1. Now what about the others? Try to think of each one of them. Let's look at A, for example. I need the frequency of adventure, so I don't have the relative frequency, for example, to be able to deduce the frequency. Because if you have the frequency, you can know the relative frequency. And if you have the relative frequency, you can know the frequency. And you can't use this method that says that the total frequency is the sum of these frequencies because B is also an unknown. So you won't able to get A. So think about B and C. Actually, you can get both of them now. I'll start with C because I have all the values in this row and also I have the total, so this would be very easy. So since the total relative frequency is 1 and also the total relative frequency is 0.19 plus 0.15 plus C plus 0.21 plus 0.075 plus 0.23 is equal to 1, so you'll get that C is equal to 0.145. Now let's look back at A and B. Since now you have the relative frequency of adventure, so you can know the frequency of adventure. Because there is a rule that relates the relative frequency and frequency, which is the relative frequency is equal to the frequency over the total frequency. So we can know that 0.145 is equal to A over 200. And now you can get A by cross multiplication. So you will get that A is equal to 29. Now we still have B, so you can get it using the same method we got A. So we can know that 0.21, which is the relative frequency, is equal to B over 200, and you get B using the same method. Or another method, since now we have A, so the only unknown in these frequencies is B. And we know that the sum of these frequencies will give us 200. So B would be 200 minus all these frequencies, and this will give us 42. Both methods work for sure. Now the last part: calculate the percentage of people whose favorite movie genre is horror or action. So let's look back at the table. So we have 30 people who prefers horror movies and B people, which is 42, who prefers action movies. So the number of people who prefers horror or action movies would be 30 plus 42, which is 72. But they asked in this question about the percentage. And remember, in order to get the percentage, you should divide the number of people who prefers horror or action over the total number of people times 100. So you'll get 36%. Now this is the last exercise. It's taken from the official exams. This type of questions where they get both statistics with the solving system of equations with two unknowns. So the first part is solve the following system, showing all the steps of calculation. I'll go through this very quickly because it's not the goal of our chapter. So there are several methods. I'll use the method of elimination. So I'll multiply the first equation by -2. So I'll get -2x, which will cancel out with 2x. So after multiplying by -2, you will get -2x minus 2y is equal to -22. Add these equations. This will cancel out with 2x, and you're left with -2y plus 5y, which will give you 3y. And this side you'll get 12. Now divide by 3, you'll get that y is equal to 4. Replace y equal to 4 in the first equation, you'll get that x is equal to 7. So y 4 and x is 7. Now the second part, pause the video and try to solve it by yourself. A survey was made to find the number of books read by the students of a certain class. The results are grouped in the following statistical table. So these are the number of books and these are the number of students. And we know moreover that the number of students of this class is 25 and the mean of read books is 3. Calculate x and y. So here, since you have two unknowns, then for sure you'll have two information. Read it again carefully. We know that the number of students of this class is 25. So how do we get the number of students from this table? So here we have the number of students is, so 5 students read one book, X students read 2 books, and so on. So these are the number of students, and the total is 25. So 5 plus X plus 4 plus 3 plus Y plus 2 is equal to 25. So simplify this, take the numbers to the other side and leave the unknowns in the left side. You'd get that x plus y is equal to 11, which is the same as the first equation in this system. Let's continue. What's the second information? We know that the mean is 3. So how do we get the mean? So it's 1 times 5 plus 2 times x plus 3 times 4 plus 4 times 3 plus 5 times y plus 6 times 2 all over the total frequency, which is 25, because it's the same as the total number of students in this class. So you'll get this. Also simplify it. Start by cross multiplication and take the unknowns to one side and the numbers to the other side. After simplifying it, you'll get this form. 2x plus 5y is equal to 34, which is also the same as the second equation in this system. So using this system, you know that x is equal to 7 and y is equal to 4 because you solved it in the previous part. Thanks for watching and wait for the next video, which will be an explanation for the second part of this chapter.